Next on WoodSongs, it's our 500th broadcast with one of the finest folk icons still producing great new music, the legendary Richie Havens.
If I could tell the story, little darling, seems like a long, long, lonely winter. Little darling, seems like so many years.
The television broadcast of the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour is made possible in part by Kentucky Tourism, celebrating the hundreds of rivers, lakes, state parks, horse farms, museums and vacation destinations across Kentucky. And by Acoustic Rainbow, introducing songs from independent artists and small labels to over 1,200 acoustic format radio stations worldwide, online at acousticrainbow.com. And by Insight Communications, providers of cable, high-definition television and broadband internet service. Support is also provided by viewers like you. Information on how to become a WoodSongs partner and support the growth of grassroots music is online at woodsongs.com.
Here on the Louisiana Hayride, his name is Hank Williams, the drifting cowboy.
On the Grand Ole Opry, Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys.
Hi, this is Bruce Horns. Hi, this is Kevin Moe.
Hey folks, this is Bela Fleck.
Hi folks, this is Sam Bush.
Hello, this is Odetta.
This is Joan Baez, and you're listening to the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour.
And now, gather the family around and sit back in your easy chair. It's time again for the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour, our worldwide celebration of grassroots music. Let's welcome folk singer, author, and tree hugger, Michael Jonathan.
Last night I had the strangest dream I ever dreamed before. I dreamed I saw the world agree to put an end to war. I dreamed I saw this mighty room, and the room was filled with men and women. And the paper they were signing said they'd never fight again. And when that paper was all signed and 1,000,000 copies were made, they all joined hands and bowed their heads, and grateful words they prayed. And the people in the streets below, they were dancing round and round, and swords and guns and uniforms they scattered on the ground. Last night I had the strangest dream I ever dreamed before. I dreamed I saw the world agree to put an end to war.
And welcome to the historic Kentucky Theater. Here we are in our hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. We are sitting at the crossroads of America's folk and bluegrass music. We are just a 6-hour drive from 32 million Americans in the center of the United States. And as always, our theater is packed here. The Kentucky Theater is just packed wall to wall as it usually is. Lexington is the gateway city to the beautiful Appalachian Mountains, where so much of America's roots music and folk and bluegrass was born. And we get to celebrate this wonderful music from our stage. Artists come from all over the world to be here. You don't have to be famous to be on WoodSongs. You just have to be very, very good. And once in a while, we invite someone who merges those worlds of fame and excellence to be here on our stage. And it certainly validates what everybody here is trying to do in this celebration of grassroots music. This guy has been a hero of mine, and for our 500th broadcast, I couldn't think of anybody better to represent the passion of what we try to make this show about and the passion of the community that puts it together than this gentleman. He's a New Yorker like myself, but he's certainly a global thinker. He is a worldwide renowned artist in the world of folk and roots music. He's got a album called Grace of the Sun that he's going to introduce himself with. It's a beautiful song written by Bob Dylan. It's called All Along the Watchtower. Please welcome the legendary Richie Havens to the WoodSongs Old Time Radio.
There must be some way out of here, said the joker to the thief. There's so much I can't get no relief. Businessmen, they drink my wine, proud men dig my earth. None of them along the line know what any of it is worth. What any of it is worth. No need to get excited. The thief, he kindly spoke. There's so many here amongst us think that life is but a joke. You and I have been through that. This is not our fate. Let us not speak falsely now. The hour is getting late, late. Watchtower, all along the watchtower, all along the watchtower. Princess kept the view. All the women, they came and went, barefoot servants too. Outside in the distance, wildcat did growl. Approaching him, the wind began to howl. The wind began to howl. There must be some way out of here, said the joker to the thief. There's so much confusion, I can't get no relief. Businessmen, drink my wine. Proud men dig my earth. None of them along the line know what any of it is worth. Know what any of it is worth. Know what any of it is worth. Thank you.
From the CD Grace of the Sun, all along the Watchtower, Richie Havens. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
From Woodstock to WoodSongs. Boy, this is working out great.
Yeah.
You, New Yorker like myself, both born in New York City, I ask many people to forgive me of that, but it's really a great musical place.
Yes, it is. A lot of, in different kinds of music, too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of legends that live there.
Of course.
I'm not there.
I think you're one of the legends.
That was just a joke.
You came from a large Brooklyn family.
Yes.
There's a lot of kids in your family.
I'm the oldest of 9.
Oldest of 9 kids. Yeah. And you're known as a folk singer, but that wasn't really the music of your teenage years that you were really into.
I sang doo-wop for a while.
Doo-wop.
Yeah.
You do like the street
got
corner thing?
A lot of water coming down on us, you know.
Lots of reverb.
Yeah, in Brooklyn, that's the way we stayed out of trouble, actually. You know, we sang together with other guys that we were going to know for the rest of our lives. And it wasn't until I thought I'd take a long walk from where I grew up, I have to say I never made it past Manhattan. Greenwich Village grabbed me.
So let's talk about that. What was it about that 60s Greenwich Village scene that attracted you as a young teenage boy?
Actually, when I first discovered it, it was about poetry for me. I was writing poetry, and so when I realized that beatniks and poetry were smacked together, I said, oh, that's where I should go. Obviously, I did, and I drew portraits for 2 years. And I listened to some of the greatest folk singers and writers in my time. Freddie Neal, Bob Gibson, Hamilton Camp, all of those guys contributed to me in a big way.
So you were a real young Renaissance man, being an artist and literary with the poetry. When did the music become, I am going to be a musician, I'm going to be a songwriter, I'm going to be an interpreter of songs?
I've been trying to figure that out. You know, I drew portraits for like 2 years. And I couldn't see how I gave up all of that money drawing portraits to pass the basket. So music was definitely number one.
Yeah.
My father was an air piano player, and I inherited, I believe, hearing music well.
Well, let's get back into the music that you came to visit us with. He's got a brand new record. It's called Nobody Left a Crown. And here's a beautiful song off that album. It's called If I. It's Richie Havens on the WoodSongs, Old Time Radio.
If I could tell the story what secrets I would tell of those who've gone to glory and those who went to hell. If I could show the pictures of the faces I believe, they'd all be children smiling with nothing up their sleeves. I'd remember every detail. I'd remember every flaw. And every time that we failed to open every door. If I could change the ending, no one should ever lose. And I'd keep this road from bending. Nothing left to lose. Yes, we'd walk this line together. And share what we could share. And we'd all do this forever. And that should get us there. Thank you. Thank you so much.
One of the many beautiful songs on his brand new CD, Nobody Left to Crown. It's nice that you've got a new album out there. And
yeah, it's
filled with all these really good songs. And
too many songs to remember, I tell you.
Well, you're doing
30. This is the 30th album.
The 30th album for Richie Havens. Well, that's going back to your start as a folk singer and a songwriter in the Greenwich Village scene. You developed a very unusual way of playing the guitar. Not so much with your strumming hand, but with your other hand. So could you explain what you're doing? You've got this capo of a thumb that you're using on the fretboard.
Capo and they're all capos in this.
How did that?
I was very moved and very trapped by the beautiful songs of Fred Neil and all of those guys back then, and it came to me, that I would not just generally step out and start singing by myself because I was so used to being in the background of the doo-wop guys, but I used to sing harmony with Freddie Neil at the Cafe War from the audience, and he came to me one day and he said, "Richie, you're singing my songs for 6 months now, in harmony no less. Take this guitar home and learn it yourself." That's how I got the guitar. I went home, didn't know how to tune it, so I tuned it to a chord, regression, doo-wop.
There you go.
And I had to put it on my lap. That's how I started out. A lot of people laughed, including me. No. And but the songs were important. I actually learned all of them, learned to play to support all of them, and got my chance to, 3 days later, go back to the Cafe War and sing all of the 6 songs.
Started playing professionally, and so to speak. Now you're playing a beautiful acoustic Guild guitar, and your strings are in an open tuning, obviously.
In open tuning, it's a D chord.
Open D. And so you're just running your You're
anywhere on the-
barcoding everywhere
yes.
you go. Well, that's neat. Now, eventually, you came under the auspices of a renowned artist manager named Albert Grossman. He's the guy who brought Bob Dylan to dominance, and Peter, Paul, and Mary, and so many others. So you were in great company when you started your career.
Yes, I was, especially with everyone who was playing. There were a lot of guys walking around, wanting to manage people. And I remember I had just played a set, and I left, and Albert sort of chased behind me and said, you think about making records? Me, I don't even play the guitar right. There's a lot of guys here better than me, I couldn't figure out if he was kidding me or not. He says, well, let's talk about it. I said, okay. I went up and talked to him about it. Next thing I know, I've signed a stack of contracts to play across the country. And the first thing I did is I walk up to the first place, and it says, Johnny's Jazz. Jazz? I don't sing jazz. What do they do to me? I'm out here. What do I do? And then I got up to the window where the little poster was, and it said, Richie Havens, folk jazz singer. So I said, oh, is that what I do?
Just change your timing.
And the next day, of course, it was a blues club.
Right.
So, on and on, Richie Havens, folk blues.
The chameleon, right? Musical chameleon. Well, we're going to get back more into your story because Albert helped you get booked at a big festival that we're going to talk about that next little bit. But right now, back into Richie's music from the CD Grace of the Sun. Here's another Richie Havens tune. It's called Way Down Deep. Richie Havens on the WoodSongs, Old Time Radio.
Darkness as I scramble to the light. Somehow I'm falling down. Somewhere in the twilight sets a kite. Am I dreaming way down deep? Sometimes I'd be dreaming as you've done dream. Hey. Sometimes I'd be dreaming. Hey. Am I dreaming? Dreaming way down deep. While they're scheming as we sleep. I'm living on a mountain way up high. Sometimes everything is so bright. Sometimes I know everything I need. Somehow I know my left from right. Am I dreaming way down deep? While they're scheming as we sleep.
Richie Havens. CD's Grace of the Sun, Way Down Deep, a song that he wrote. I think Richie...
Sorry about that.
You play the guitar passionately, so you're going to break a string every now and then. It's kind of cool that he kept on playing, though, don't you think? That's a pro right there. There's a man who's broken a lot of strings on stage. You got your feet wet, I guess. You were signed to the Verve label early in the beginning, and you kind of came full circle around. Your latest album is also on Verve, but that intermediate time, you were one of the first major artists to go completely independent by starting your own label. That took a lot of bravado back then.
It sure did, and I don't even know if I was feeling that or not. It was very strange because it was at a time when a contract was coming up and they were trying to renegotiate a contract, and I really didn't know a great deal about that at the time. I actually earned this talk with a PR guy. I had never been to the MGM building. I was signed there for 3 years. I finally get to go there because they wanted to do some interviews, and the guy behind the desk said, "You know, Rich, I bet if you asked them, they'd give you a label." I go, right. What am I good? So he says, "No, I'm not kidding. You should ask." So I asked Albert, and he laughed like I laughed.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend who was a lawyer, and he said, "What's happening with you?" I said, "Oh, I don't know. This guy at MGM said I should ask for a label." He said, "What would you do with it?" And I told him, "There's a lot of people around here doing great stuff that I would love to record and stuff like that, just like they did me." And so he said, "Oh, well, sounds good." So the next time I saw him, he took out a big envelope with a lot of paper in it, and he had negotiated a label.
And there you
and
had
there I was.
Stormy
I
Forest was born. Stormy Forest Records. Well, you kind of proceeded. I mean, today almost all the artists that used to be on major labels are running their own labels now. I mean, everyone from R.E.M. to John Prine to Madonna and Garth Brooks, but back when you did it, I mean, that was not the norm for. No. I think the first artist to ever get a record label was Frank Sinatra. So you were in good, rare company.
And Frankie, I can't think of his name, from New Jersey. I know he's from New Jersey.
I'll believe you on that. We were alluding to this big festival that you were booked at in 1969. We're going to get to that story in the second half hour. We're going to save that. But we've got Richie Havens here for the whole first half hour. We got Richie Havens for the whole second half hour. We are on the air worldwide from Australia to Ireland, New Zealand to New York, from Yuma, Arizona to the Yukon in Upper Canada. We're broadcasting on XM Satellite Radio, WUMB in Boston, Alabama Public Radio, South Texas Public Radio. So many stations. It's a huge audience celebrating grassroots music, and we'll be back with Richie Havens right after this.
Hey everybody over there at WoodSongs, this is Jacob Dylan, and happy 500th broadcast. Glad to be a part of the show.
Thank you, Jacob. Welcome back to our second half. We're broadcasting from our hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. Like Jacob said, it's the 500th broadcast of our show. We've got the legendary Richie Havens here, certainly a hero of mine. And, WoodSongs is a multimedia broadcast. Well, we got a phone call from the folks that are of the same family of companies that have Madison Square Garden and Radio City Music Hall and the Ziegfeld Theater. And one of the things that these companies do is they have movie theaters. And there's a new thing going on called digital delivery. This is where you can go to a movie theater and maybe watch the Super Bowl or the Metropolitan Opera or whatever. Well, they chose to turn the movie theaters into WoodSongs coffee houses. They're going to have regional artists perform concerts in the movie theater, followed by the broadcast, the TV broadcast of WoodSongs, just like you're watching. Richie Havens is going to be 40 feet tall and movie screens all over the place. So Richie, so much has changed since you were that kid reciting poetry in the coffee houses, and this multimedia world has made the audience so much more accessible. Hard to get to, but still there to get to reach.
Oh yes.
Now, one of the ways back then that was really important, before the internet, before broadcast TV, was performing live. And there were these guys putting together a festival on a farm in upstate New York. How did you get invited to perform at this thing?
I think they had the idea that they could do sort of copy another group who were doing a kind of folk for a long time, a lot of folk music, and they wanted to do something like that, and they started figuring out who they'd like to have, and they'd call everybody. It was done very naturally with booking agents and the whole thing. However, there were rumors that there were going to be 70,000 people down in the woods. Too much. And I know for a fact that the big concert, as it turned out to be, was more than 500,000 on the first day.
So they thought 70,000 was too big.
Oh, yeah.
And 450, 500,000 actually showed up. So Woodstock was launched on a beautiful, dry, sunny day. The weather was perfect, wasn't it?
Yeah, for me.
Yeah.
It was perfect. And, here comes the sun.
Right. Now, you were not supposed to be first one up on the festival, but a chain of events happened.
Yeah, it's a little trivia there. We were sitting in the hotel very early in the morning. We had left Manhattan and got there around 5:30 in the morning, thinking it was going to be packed with cars, and it wasn't actually. We got to the hotels they told us to go to with our equipment. All the bands are there, and they're all running around and saying hi and everything. And all of a sudden, it's now 4:30 in the afternoon, and no one's moved to go over to the field yet. And I'm going, something is wrong. And what happened was people had driven there, and from Bethel all the way down to where, I guess that's 17, I'm not sure. But their cars were parked. And so they enjoyed the 3 days sitting on top of their vans and on the closed down highway.
Big bottleneck of people.
So I heard this loud noise, and it happened to be a helicopter from a farmer down the road. They borrowed his helicopter to get some of us over. I had the least people and the least instruments, so they knocked on the door and said,
they put you first.
we want to take a ride? You want to go over there? I said, are you kidding? I've been sitting here all day. Of course I'd like to be over there. And I got there, and they dropped the bubble. It was a glass bubble, and and I'm looking down, and I go, oh, God. Straight down.
You're really high at this point.
Oh, boy. It's really
physically,
something.
not drug-wise.
I got that. So we get out of the helicopter, and they take out our measly 2 guitars and 2 conga drums and 3 guys. And they took us backstage, and we were sitting there. Actually, Tim Hardin was under the stage at the time, playing under the stage, but he wasn't going to go on first. Right. Him and I were the only 2 people there. And so they went, Richie, would you go on? And you heard a little sound like, I was gone.
You were anxious. At this point, you were ready to get on there.
Any kind of sound you want to put to it. But I went first. Are you kidding? What happened? Well, we didn't get the right, it's very crowded. So you got the least instruments. So they convinced me. It took 3 times of finding me. Well, the whole crowd, they were good at it.
They get you on stage. The audience loved you. They wouldn't let you get off.
Well, that was about half of what that ended up. You had 40 minutes, so I did the 40 minutes, and I walked off, and they said, Richie, 4 more songs? Oh, no problem. I went back, I sang 4 more songs, and I got off again, and Richie, 4 more songs? They did that 6 times. 2 hours and 45 minutes later, I had no more songs to sing. And I remember in the movie, you see me going away, and then you see me coming back. Well, this was the last song. There was only 2 songs in it, so it looked like the first song. It was the last song. And here I am. I'm still like, stalling. That big intro on that record is me stalling to figure out what I was going to sing. And so the first thing that happened was I said to myself, this is the place that my whole generation has been looking for since the 1950s. And so it's here now. And so I started singing Freedom. And then Motherless Child showed up. I hadn't sung that song in 14 years. And that fell into place. And then another hymn that I sang with a friend of mine when we had the doo-wop band, it's called I Have a Telephone in My Bosom, and I Can Call Him Up From My Heart. Mm. It all fell out on the stage, and it was really interesting because after I got down off the stage and we left, it was gone. It was gone.
Did you think that you shook your world?
Well, the thing about it was so spontaneous that when I got off the stage and got halfway back to where they brought us from, I didn't really think about it that much, but I thought that was weird, those songs coming out like that. That was very strange. Well, 9 months later was when I actually saw what I did. And I didn't have to sing it for the 9 months between the movie coming out because I didn't remember it. I didn't make anything of it beyond that. But I ended up going to the movies in L.A., and it scared the heck out of me to see myself up on the screen. It really was scary.
Yeah, but the audience loved it.
Oh.
You alluded to a really great song that you did back in 1970 from a CD or an album called Alarm Clock. George Harrison wrote it. It's called Here Comes the Sun. It's Richie Havens on the WoodSongs, Old Time Radio.
Little darling, seems like a long, long, lonely winter. Little darling, seems like so many years since it's been there. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. And I say, it's all right, it's all right, it's all right, it's all right. Darling, seems like the ice is slowly melting. Little darling, seems like so many years since it's been there. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. And I say, it's all right, it's all right, it's all right, it's all right, all right. Little darling, seems like the smiles are returning to the faces. Little darling, seems like so many years since it's been there. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. And I say, it's all right, it's all right, it's all right, it's all right. Here Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. I say, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. In the end, the love you say will be equal to the love you gave.
Here comes the sun. Let's give some props to those that are playing and performing and traveling with Richie. Walter Parks is playing the national guitar, picking away there and playing beautiful, beautiful cello work. Stephanie Winters. It's so nice that both of them would come in. Richie, I want to go straight into a song from your new record. I mean, it's great that you're staying, vital. The songs are still there. You're still recording. You're still touring. I mean, you've never lost your love for the music.
Nope.
Enough said. Let's get right into it. The new CD is called Nobody Left to Crown. It's a song called The Key, Richie Havens, on the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour.
Somewhere there is a key. It is laid behind a golden tree to open even me before the last fire's blood. Somewhere there is a door. It is closed forevermore to every little thing we swore allegiance to, just between me and you. Somewhere there is a place where the heart meets face to face with the whole human race before the last shadows fall. Somewhere there is no time, common ground, a nursery rhyme, where we will pay the fine, a Shakespeare line, to be or not to be, just between you and me. No escape, a tribal dance. No one breaks the common trance, a global glance at freedom's plea. Somewhere there is no lie, truth and justice still survive. In every day of our lives, the sun arrives to show us new, just between me and you. Just between you and me. Just between you and me. Just between you and me.
Song is called The Key from Richie's new CD, Nobody Left to Crown. Is it still exciting to you when the album comes out and you hold it for the first time?
Yeah.
You're looking at it, you're looking at the
Yeah,
artwork.
it is, because it's away from you, you know. The songs are inside now. It just, you can sort of see them standing in front of you, you know. It's very interesting, because I think music probably, as they say, from the beginning of time was what made feeling. It's just such a privilege to get to feel things that you don't even know. When they come to you, they come through you. You write them down, then you read them and see what you wrote.
Are you a prolific songwriter?
No, you know, when I heard those songs years ago, and I thought, I'm never going to write another song, you know, because, you know, we were at the sky is blue and I still love you kind of level, you know. And then when you go to hear songs that are very, very important, you know, you feel the importance of it. It's a real kind of privilege. I definitely am a work of others, you know. So the songs that they sang that changed me, I get the privilege to sing them to other people. So
Well, you certainly, part of your career, your catalog, was becoming a brilliant interpreter of Bob Dylan songs, for example. You know, and you did the George Harrison song earlier and stuff. So that, you know, that's all part of the makeup, I think, of a folk singer. It's not just your own songs, but you do.
That's right. Singing songs that are coming from everywhere was really the basic level of sharing in places like Greenwich Village and Rush Street in Chicago and San Francisco and Broadway, where the consciousness idea was basically, that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to claim consciousness, you know, or finding some, or learning from those who have it. And because we were in the middle. When I say that, I mean my generation was a very, very special generation. Very special. And it's basically because we are the best looking generation the world has ever produced. Ever. It's true. It's true.
No, nobody's ever going to top bell-bottom pants. It's not going to happen. Well, one of the things that we're conscious of is the great songs and the work of your new album, and I encourage everybody to pick this up. The CD's called Nobody Left to Crown. We're going to end our show with one more song from that great new work that Richie Havens out. The song is called We All Know. It's Richie Havens on the WoodSongs, Old Time Radio.
We all know now there's somewhere where there is something that is right, and someone there to keep us all from knowing. We all know that we will soon win this fight. Oh, you are not to blame for anything you did not do. We all know the scoundrels have our numbers. We all not responsible for everything they did to you. Today's the day we all will learn more truth. Talk about giving, talk about living, talk about giving. cannot hide from anyone who is staring in your eyes. We all know the scoundrel have our numbers, but we all will not stand inside the stampede of their lives. Today's the day we all come out from under.
Richie Havens, Walter Parks on national guitar, Stephanie Winters playing cello. When we were trying to decide who to celebrate our 500th broadcast with, we wanted someone who represented the true passion of what this music is, how long-lasting and forever it is once it enters into your heart. And I think we found it with Richie Havens. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I want to thank Richie. I want to thank all the volunteer crew that makes WoodSongs possible. Kevin Johnson, our engineer, Jim Piston, our TV director. This is a work of passion, just like Richie Havens' career has been a work of passion. And when you look at your own heart and your own family, you look at the music and the art that you make, have that same passion, whether it's a painting or it's poetry. This is life. This is the wonderment of life. Don't let radio and TV do it for you. Do it yourself. My name is Michael Jonathan. I am a folk singer. I am a tree hugger, and we'll see you next week on the WoodSongs Old Time Radio. Good night.
You've been listening to WoodSongs broadcast number 500. Michael's opening performance was last night. I had the strangest dream with Bob Bryan on bass and the Hippie Chick strings with...
Thank you for tuning in. There are so many talented artists that appear on our stage. It's very hard sometimes to pick the ones that appear on our TV broadcast. So what we're going to do is leave you with a performance from our huge online archive of past shows. We'll see you next time on the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour.
It isn't Negro, but it is spiritual. It do speak to the power of redemption, to power, period. Converting lost to found, creating sight where there was none. But what sound could be so powerfully sweet? Sweet enough to turn a wretched slave ship captain into England's most outspoken abolitionist and songwriter? Was it the splash of bodies dragged kicking and screaming, jettisoned off decks to the outstretched arms of ocean coral? Was it the crack of the whip or the popping sound bloody flesh makes when a sizzling branding iron breaks the skin? The sound of fear and confusion below deck, muffled by the sound of rape up above? The sound of 609 beating hearts sardine into a space for 300. Amazing is to be lost and blind.
The television broadcast of the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour is made possible in part by Kentucky Tourism, celebrating the hundreds of rivers, lakes, state parks, horse farms, museums and vacation destinations across Kentucky. And by Acoustic Rainbow, introducing songs from independent artists and small labels to over 1,200 acoustic format radio stations worldwide. Online at acousticrainbow.com. And by Insight Communications, providers of cable, high-definition television and broadband internet service. Support is also provided by viewers like you. Information on how to become a WoodSongs partner and support the growth of grassroots music is online at woodsongs.com.